Do you believe in ghosts? These real-life paranormal sightings might change your mind. We're about to embark on a journey to another 10 of the most haunted places in America. You won't believe what we find. So, are you brave enough to join us? Our first location is Gettysburg Battlefield in Pennsylvania. Just the name sends shivers down your spine. Over 50,000 soldiers lost their lives on this hallowed ground, their souls caught in the crossfire of one of the most brutal battles in American history. You can feel the weight of the past here, the sorrow, the anger, the sheer terror that unfolded on these very fields. People have been reporting strange occurrences at Gettysburg for decades. Unexplained voices whispering on the wind, shadowy figures moving through the fog, and the bone-chilling feeling of being watched. Many believe that the soldiers who fell here never truly left. They're trapped, reliving the horrors of that bloody battle over and over again. One of the most haunted areas of Gettysburg is a place called the Devil's Den. This jumble of massive boulders became a natural fortress during the battle, a place of unimaginable carnage. The energy here is off the charts. You can feel it pressing down on you, suffocating you. We've investigated this area before, and let me tell you, it's not for the faint of heart. We've captured EVPs of disembodied voices, ghostly apparitions on camera, and even experienced physical contact from unseen forces. The spirits here are angry, restless, and they don't hesitate to let you know they're present. From the battlefields of Gettysburg, we travel across the country to the elegant Queen Anne Hotel in San Francisco. Now, this beautiful Victorian mansion might seem charming, but don't let the ornate facade fool you. This place has a dark side, a history steeped in sorrow and mystery. You see, before it was a hotel, the Queen Anne was a prestigious girls' boarding school run by a strict headmistress named Mary Lake. She was known for her stern demeanor and unwavering discipline. But Mary met a tragic end within these walls, and her spirit is said to still roam the halls, forever bound to the school she loved. Guests and staff at the Queen Anne have reported countless encounters with Mary's ghost. They describe her as a tall, imposing figure dressed in a long black dress. Some say she's a benevolent spirit watching over the hotel and its guests. But others tell a different story. They say Mary's presence is often accompanied by a feeling of unease, a sudden drop in temperature, and the overwhelming sensation of being watched. Some guests have even claimed to have seen objects move on their own, as if manipulated by an unseen hand. There's one room in the Queen Anne Hotel that's shrouded in more mystery and fear than any other, room 410. This is said to be Mary Lake's former room, and it's ground zero for paranormal activity. Guests who have dared to stay in room 410 have reported terrifying experiences. Unexplained noises, disembodied voices, and even the feeling of being touched or held down in the bed. Some guests have even reported seeing Mary herself standing at the foot of the bed, her cold, piercing eyes staring into their souls. Guys, Savannah, this city oozes history, but trust me, some of it is downright terrifying. We're talking about the Marshall House, a place where the veil between the living and the dead is thin, paper thin. This grand old building, now a luxurious hotel, has a past shrouded in suffering. See, during the Civil War it served as a hospital, a place where countless soldiers took their last breaths. Can you imagine the pain, the fear, the anguish that soaked into these very walls? The echoes of those tormented souls still linger, trapped within these walls. Guests have reported seeing shadowy figures in the hallways, apparitions of wounded soldiers still searching for peace. Some have even felt the ghostly touch of a phantom hand, cold as ice. One room, room 414, is said to be a hotbed of paranormal activity. Guests have reported objects moving on their own, lights flickering uncontrollably, and disembodied voices whispering in the dead of night. It's like the spirits here are desperate to be heard, to share their stories of pain and loss. And then there's the story of the little boy, a young spirit, some say, who died in the hospital during its time as a makeshift medical ward. Guests claim to hear his laughter echoing through the halls, only to turn a corner and find emptiness. But the most chilling accounts describe a bloodstain on the floor. It's said to reappear no matter how many times it's scrubbed away, a gruesome reminder of the horrors that unfolded within these walls. The Marshall House stands as a chilling reminder that history leaves its mark. The spirits of those who suffered and died here are not content to rest. They roam the halls, their presence felt by those brave enough, or maybe foolish enough, to spend the night. This isn't just a hotel, it's a time capsule of tragedy, a place where the weight of the past is suffocating, where the dead outnumber the living. We're going in, and we're gonna see who or what is behind these chilling occurrences. This is hallowed ground, but not in the way you might think. This is a battleground between the living and the dead. From the haunted halls of Savannah, we travel to a different kind of haunting, a place where despair hangs heavy in the air. The Perrine Bridge in Goodland, Florida. This bridge, stretching over the deep waters below, isn't just a scenic landmark. It's a magnet for tragedy. Countless souls, lost and desperate, have chosen this place to end their pain. They took a leap of faith, hoping to find peace in the abyss. But something dark lingers here. The energy is palpable, heavy with sorrow and regret. The cries of the departed seem to echo on the wind, a chorus of despair that chills you to the bone. Locals whisper tales of ghostly figures, transparent silhouettes seen plummeting from the bridge, only to vanish before hitting the water. Some say the bridge is a portal, a gateway between this world and the next, a place where the veil between life and death is thin, allowing tormented souls to cross over. People who have dared to walk this bridge at night speak of sudden temperature drops, cold spots that send shivers down your spine. They describe an oppressive feeling, like unseen eyes watching your every move. It's as if the spirits of those who took that final desperate leap are trapped here, unable to move on. There's something about bridges, man. They're not just structures of steel and concrete. They're symbols of transition, of crossing over. But this bridge, this place, it's different. The despair is palpable, like a thick fog that you can't escape. It's like the spirits of those who met their end here are drawn back, compelled to relive their final moments. We're going to tap into the energy of this place to see if we can communicate with those lost souls, to hear their stories, and maybe, just maybe, help them find some peace. Because here at the Perrine Bridge, death is just the beginning. From the unsettling heights of the Perrine Bridge, we head to a place where luxury and tragedy collide. The Delavan Hotel in Lake Worth, Florida. This grand old dame, once a playground for the rich and famous, now stands as a haunting reminder of faded glory. The Delavan has seen it all: love affairs, scandals, even whispers of murder. And some say those secrets of the past have seeped into the hotel's very foundation, transforming it into a paranormal magnet. Guests have reported strange noises in the dead of night, footsteps in empty hallways, doors slamming shut on their own, and disembodied voices whispering their names. But the most chilling presence is that of a woman in white, said to be the spirit of a former guest who met an untimely end within these walls. Her heartbroken sobs echo through the halls, sending shivers down the spines of even the most skeptical guests. Some say she's searching for something, a lost love, a stolen treasure, or maybe just peace in the afterlife. Others believe she's trapped here, bound to the hotel by the tragic circumstances of her demise. The energy within the Delavan is oppressive, like a weight pressing down on you. We're going deep into the heart of the Delavan, into the rooms where the paranormal activity is most intense. We'll be using our full arsenal of equipment to capture evidence of the supernatural, to communicate with the spirits that call this place home. The stories, the legends, the whispers of those who have encountered the unexplained within these walls, they all point to something real, something powerful, something we can't ignore. The Delavan Hotel is more than just a fading relic of a bygone era. It's a doorway to the other side, and we're about to step through. Guys, we're leaving the mainland behind this time. We're heading to Key West, Florida, a place known for its sunshine, beaches, and a doll. Not just any doll, though. This one's different. This is Robert the doll, and he's got a reputation that's darker than a moonless night in the Everglades. Robert resides at the East Martello Museum, locked in a glass case. You might think that would contain whatever energy surrounds him, but you'd be wrong. This energy's been building for decades, fueled by the stories, the whispers, the fear. People come from all over to see Robert, drawn in by the legend, the mystery, the chance to come face to face with something truly unexplainable. Some say he moves, his eyes shifting to follow you. Others say he whispers, a low guttural sound that sends chills down your spine. And then there are those who claim to have seen him outside his case, a silent observer in the shadows. I've been researching the paranormal for a long time, and let me tell you, there's something about Robert that gets under your skin. You can feel it the moment you enter the room, a heaviness in the air, a prickling sensation on the back of your neck. It's like he's watching you, sizing you up, deciding whether or not you're worthy of his attention. Robert's story began over a century ago. He was given as a gift to a young boy named Robert Eugene Otto, and that's where the trouble started. The boy claimed the doll was alive, that it spoke to him, moved things around the house. The family reported hearing strange noises, objects being thrown, and Robert the doll laughing. The family eventually moved out, leaving Robert behind. Years passed and the house changed hands several times, each new resident reporting the same chilling experiences. The doll's legend grew, fueled by every unexplained event, every whisper of something sinister lurking in the shadows. Now Robert resides in the museum, surrounded by letters from people who claim he's cursed them. They write to apologize for disrespecting him, for taking his picture without permission. They beg for forgiveness, for relief from the misfortune they believe he's brought upon them. Is it all coincidence? Mass hysteria fueled by a creepy doll? Or is there something more to Robert, something ancient and malevolent trapped within his stitched-on smile? Paranormal investigators have claimed to have set up their equipment, cameras capturing every angle of the haunted locations. The air is often thick with anticipation, with the weight of unseen eyes upon them. They aim to understand, to document, to unravel the mysteries of the paranormal. Using EVP recorders and EMF detectors, they attempt to communicate with spirits. The meters often spike erratically, a cacophony of beeps and static filling the air. The hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. They ask questions into the darkness, their voices echoing in the silence. Are you here? The silence is broken only by the hum of their equipment and the pounding of their hearts. Suddenly, a crash from across the room. They spin around, cameras trained on the source of the noise. Nothing. But the energy has shifted, become more intense, more oppressive. They're not alone here. Something is listening. We're in Vicksburg, Mississippi, a town steeped in history and scarred by war. It's a place where the past lingers, where the veil between this world and the next feels thin as a whisper. And there's no place in Vicksburg more haunted than the McRaven House. Built in 1797, the McRaven House has seen it all: love, loss, birth, death, and everything in between. It's been a family home, a Civil War camp, and even a saloon. But it's the deaths, the tragic and untimely ends met within these walls that seem to have left the most lasting impression. People have reported seeing apparitions, hearing disembodied voices, and feeling the icy touch of unseen hands. The energy here is palpable, a heavy blanket of sorrow and unrest that seems to seep from the very foundation. We're here to investigate these claims, to delve into the history of the McRaven House and uncover the truth behind the stories. As we step inside the McRaven House, we're met with the musty scent of age, the feeling that we've stepped back in time. The air is thick with anticipation, and I can feel the energy of the house wrapping around me like a shroud. One of the most well-known residents of the McRaven House is Mary Elizabeth Howard, the wife of a former owner. She died during childbirth in the home in 1834. Her presence is said to be felt most strongly in the nursery, where visitors have reported seeing her apparition rocking a phantom cradle. Another spirit said to haunt the McRaven House is that of John H. Bob, a gambler who was shot and killed in the home's parlor during a card game. Legend has it that his dying words were, "I'm a dead man, but I'm not through with you yet." Paranormal investigators often set up their equipment in places with a history of unexplained events, such as old parlors where tragic events have taken place. As they begin their EVP sessions, the atmosphere can feel heavy, the air thick with tension. They ask questions into the darkness, their voices hushed with respect for the unknown. Often they address spirits directly, asking if they are present. The silence can be deafening, broken only by the gentle hum of their equipment. Suddenly a cold spot might wash over them, causing their hearts to pound as the temperature plummets. A wave of sadness can envelop the room, and the EMF detector may spike, indicating fluctuations in the electromagnetic field. They continue their investigation, with cameras capturing every shadow, every flicker of light. These investigators are not there to judge or condemn, but to understand, to give a voice to those who can no longer speak for themselves. But we're rolling up to Greystone Park Psychiatric Hospital, an imposing structure looming over the landscape. This isn't just any abandoned building. This place housed thousands of patients over its 140 years of operation. And its history is riddled with tales of suffering, despair, and unexplained phenomena. This place has a darkness to it. You can feel it in the air, in the very bricks and mortar. You can practically taste the sorrow, the fear, the desperation that clung to the patients who were confined within these walls. The stories that have come out of Greystone would chill you to the bone. Patients talking to invisible entities, objects moving on their own, disembodied screams echoing through the halls. It's the stuff of nightmares. We're not here to exploit the suffering of those who were imprisoned here. We're here to investigate, to document, to try and understand the residual energy that seems to permeate every inch of this place. Greystone was overcrowded, understaffed, and notorious for its experimental treatments. The patients here were subjected to inhumane conditions, and many died within these walls, their souls forever tethered to this place of pain. One of the most infamous areas of Greystone is the morgue. It's said that the spirits of the deceased still linger here, unable to find peace. Visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures lurking in the corners, and the temperature is said to drop dramatically as you approach. Another hotspot is the hydrotherapy room, where patients were subjected to a form of therapy that involved being submerged in water for extended periods. The screams of the patients are said to still echo through the chamber, a chilling reminder of the suffering that occurred within these walls. As night descends on Greystone, paranormal investigators set up their equipment in the former cafeteria, a vast, cavernous space that once buzzed with the activity of hundreds of patients. Now an eerie silence hangs in the air, broken only by the creak of the building settling around them. They used infrared cameras, hoping to capture any movement that might be invisible to the naked eye. The investigators reported a thick atmosphere of anticipation, with the energy of the place pressing in on them. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the far end of the cafeteria. They spun around, their cameras trained on the source of the noise, but found nothing there. One investigator reported the hair on the back of their neck standing on end. They wondered if it was a spirit trying to get their attention. The team pressed on, their determination fueled by the unknown. They felt as if they were walking a tightrope between this world and the next, and were about to come face to face with the darkness that resides within Greystone's walls. Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Even the name sends chills down your spine. This place, man, it was supposed to be a beacon of hope, a place where tuberculosis patients could go to heal. But instead, it became a breeding ground for death and despair. Thousands upon thousands died within these walls, their suffering echoing through the decades. And the epicenter of this paranormal pressure cooker, the infamous death chute. They say it was designed to move bodies discreetly, to spare other patients from the grim reality of the disease. But can you imagine the terror? The feeling of being tossed aside, forgotten in your final moments. Those emotions, that raw energy, it doesn't just disappear, it lingers, staining the very walls, the very air we breathe. And if you think the death chute is bad, let me tell you about room 502. This room, man, it's like a magnet for dark energy. A young nurse, driven to despair, took her own life in that very room. They say she's still there, trapped in her final moments of anguish. People have reported seeing her, a full-bodied apparition, her face contorted in a silent scream. The air grows cold, the lights flicker, and you can almost feel her despair wrapping around you like a shroud. Paranormal investigations have claimed to have captured some of the most disturbing EVPs in that room. Disembodied voices, whispering, pleading, crying out in agony. It's enough to make your blood run cold. To think of the suffering she endured, the darkness that consumed her soul. It's a stark reminder that some wounds, even in death, never truly heal. But the paranormal activity at Waverly Hills isn't confined to the death chute or room 502. This entire building is like a giant antenna broadcasting the anguish of the past. Shadowy figures darting down hallways, disembodied whispers echoing through the empty wards, cold spots that send shivers down your spine. It's a relentless barrage on the senses. We've had objects move on their own, doors slam shut with no explanation, and experienced sudden, drastic temperature drops. There's no denying it, something is here with us, watching, waiting. The energy is palpable, thick with the residue of pain and suffering. It makes you question everything you thought you knew. To confront the possibility that death isn't the end, that some part of us lingers on, bound to the places where we experienced our greatest joys and our deepest sorrows. Now we're heading to a place where the music never stops and the spirits never sleep. Bobby Mackey's Music World. On the surface, it's a honky-tonk bar, a place for good times and good music. But beneath the surface, beneath the laughter and the twanging guitars, lies a dark and sinister history. See, this place wasn't always a music hall. It used to be a slaughterhouse. Can you imagine the violence, the terror, the raw primal energy that permeated this very ground? Animals weren't the only ones who met their end here. Legend has it that a pregnant woman was brutally murdered, her body dumped in the well that still sits on the property. Talk about a recipe for paranormal activity. You've got the residual energy of countless slaughtered animals, the tragic death of an innocent woman, and a well that's said to be a portal to hell. It's no wonder this place is crawling with entities. And speaking of the well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the demon in the well. Locals call it the gateway to hell. They say it's a vortex of negative energy, a conduit for demonic entities to cross over into our world. And let me tell you, after investigating this place, I wouldn't be surprised if it were true. Paranormal investigators have claimed to have captured EVPs of guttural voices, demonic growls, and blood-curdling screams coming from that well. Paranormal investigators have claimed to see shadows move independently, felt the temperature plummet without explanation, and witnessed objects being thrown by unseen forces. This isn't your typical haunted house, folks. This is something far more sinister, far more evil. It's a stark reminder that sometimes the veil between our world and the next is thin, paper thin. And in places like Bobby Mackey's, that veil is practically non-existent. But it's not just the demonic entities that make Bobby Mackey's a paranormal hotspot. The spirits of those who died here, both human and animal, still linger, trapped in their final moments of terror. They roam the halls, unseen audience members to the nightly revelry. Bartenders have reported bottles flying off shelves, glasses shattering for no reason, and instruments playing themselves. Patrons have witnessed full-bodied apparitions, felt unseen hands brush against them, and heard disembodied voices whispering in their ears. It's a cacophony of paranormal activity, a symphony of the dead. And the music, some say it amplifies the energy, stirs up the spirits, makes them restless. Whatever the reason, one thing's for sure, at Bobby Mackey's Music World, the party never truly ends, not even in death. From the blood-soaked battlefields of Gettysburg to the haunted halls of Waverly Hills, paranormal investigators have journeyed to some of the most paranormally active locations in America. They have encountered spirits, felt their presence, heard their stories. But remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The paranormal world is vast and mysterious, filled with wonders and terrors beyond our comprehension. Whether you believe in ghosts or dismiss it as folklore, there's no denying the power of these stories. So keep an open mind, trust your gut, and never underestimate the power of the paranormal. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep it locked right here on at Enchant Mind.